I'm Rylan, and this is NBA Informatics, the fusion of technology and NBA basketball. On this channel, I normally make content about the NBA, but this time I wanted to do something a little bit different. March Madness is coming up, and I thought, hey, why not try and create some kind of technology that can predict March Madness games? Can the regular season stats help us predict outcomes in the actual bracket?
The guy has an algorithm to determine the winner of any given college basketball game. Don't tell Jim.
I know what you're thinking. If this could be done, it would have already been done because everyone wants to have the perfect bracket, but it turns out it's impossible to solve this with some kind of mathematical model because these things are not mathematical. There's a huge element of randomness and things that are unquantifiable. That's what makes it so fun though. But I figured I might as well try. So what I did is I took the data from the 2019 NCAA tournament. I used stats from the regular season and used that to try and determine if I could predict what actually happened in the tournament. At the very least, I was hoping I could make a better bracket. After all, how do you decide who's going to win between any given NCAA tournament game? There's different things you could do. You could base it off the mascots, you could base it off some stats, or just some other type of weird intuition. But if I could even be just a little bit better at this using the data and technology, then that could at least help me win against my friends and colleagues when I play against them in the tournament challenge. To put it simply, I use machine learning to determine the most important features in determining an upset in the NCAA tournament. And while this is not perfect, here are a few things that stood out to me that I think are quite interesting that you might want to consider the next time you make your NCAA tournament bracket. They are rank, steals, blocks, offensive rebounds, and games. Let's talk about them for a second. The first one, ranks, obviously makes sense. Generally speaking, the higher ranked you are compared to the team that you're playing, the more likely you are to win. But that's no fun because that's not going to be able to help us determine an upset. But steals, on the other hand, is something that can help us determine an upset because if the lower ranked team is significantly higher in steals, then it's an indicator that this team might be able to upset that team in the NCAA tournament. This is also the case for blocks and offensive rebounds, which to me is super interesting because prior to doing this analysis, I didn't think that offensive rebounds, blocks, and steals were going to be that important in determining an upset, but apparently they are the most important. But the last one is even more interesting to me because it doesn't make much sense at all, but hey, the computer was able to find some kind of pattern, so maybe it's true, and that's the number of games. It seems like the more games you play in the regular season, the more likely you are to win in the tournament and potentially upset a higher ranked team. Now I know what you're thinking, this is all fun and games, but does it actually work in practice? And the answer is, well, kind of, because nothing actually works in practice, but let's take a look at some examples and see how it does. I'm just gonna find some random upsets. Here's a good one from 2019, the Oregon Ducks taking on the Wisconsin Badgers, number 5 versus number 12. As you can see, despite Wisconsin being number 5 and Oregon being number 12, Oregon led Wisconsin in games, offensive rebounds, steals, and blocks, and actually this led them to be able to defeat them in the tournament, even though they were a lower ranked team. Hashtag upset. But that was from 2019, which was actually the data used to create this model, so it's obviously going to do pretty good since it's already seen that. So here's another one I found from last year where number 14 Albion Christian took down number 3 Texas in an awesome upset. Despite Texas being ranked higher and having more blocks per game, Albion Christian played more games, had more offensive rebounds, and more steals, which led to them being able to upset Texas in the actual NCAA tournament. So you could argue that this is still working pretty well since 3 out of the 5 metrics went to the team that won this time. Okay, let's try another example a little further back. In 2017, number 10 Wichita State upset number 7 Dayton. Wichita State had more offensive rebounds and games played, but they were ranked lower, and Dayton had more steals and blocks. And unfortunately, it didn't work for this example. But hey, that's what makes the NCAA tournament so fun. If computers were actually able to determine who would win the games, then why would we play them? There's a reason that to date, no one has ever had a perfect bracket, but who knows, maybe you'll be the first one. In fact, I want to see if you can beat me. Check the link in the description for how you can play the tournament challenge and join my group to see if you can create a better bracket than I have. I hope to see you in the group, and I hope my bracket does better than yours. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.